What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I'm really excited about this video, and this has been a passion project of mine, and I can't wait to finally make the video and get it out to you guys. But yeah, everybody, today we're going to be talking about a 1-hour practice routine for rock and metal guitar for beginner players. So I structured this in a way that, one, caters towards this genre that is hard rock and metal music. So we're not going to be playing hot cross buns, we're not going to be doing the cage system, we're not going to be doing, you know, the things that this genre of music doesn't really need to do, right? We're going to be talking about techniques that benefit this style of music. And two, I wanted to make a video and a practice routine that I wish I had when I was a kid growing up. So I'm predominantly self-taught with the guitar. I had my father kind of show me what a guitar was and like little things here and there, but I kind of just learned everything by myself in my formative years, right? So I wanted to think like, hey, if I could go back in time and tell my younger self what to practice, how to practice, this is what I would do, right? So this is a love letter to anybody who feels a little stuck with how to practice, what to practice, when to practice, how long to practice, what you should focus on, what you should avoid or not put so much time and effort in, all the above, okay? So be sure to do me a huge favor. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate it. You're here now. It doesn't cost a thing, and it would mean a lot to me, and it would just be great feedback to let me know that you guys enjoy this video, okay? So I hope you get something out of it, and put your thinking caps on, because we're going to be talking about some techniques and how to practice, okay? So I want to talk about one technique real quick, and it's not even about playing. It's just about how to tune the guitar or the tuning of this genre. So I'm going to be teaching everything in what's called a drop tuning. So if you're new to the guitar or you need a refresher, a drop tuning is taking a standard tuned guitar and then dropping the low string down to what's called a power chord. So I'm in drop C, okay? So I picked drop C because it's a pretty common tuning for hard rock and metal music, all right? So my guitar, drop C. C, G, C, F, A, D from low to high, okay? That tuning right there is just a great tuning for this style of music, okay? So if you have a standard tuned guitar in your hands right now, like plain old E, A, D, G, B, E, you would then drop the low string from an E to a D, okay? So no matter what drop tuning you're in, all these concepts in this video are going to be relevant and apply to it, okay? So this practice routine is going to be an hour, okay? So I want you to be very diligent with this practice routine. No distractions, no noodling. Give yourself an hour, a blocked off time where you are literally focusing and practicing and drilling these techniques into your brain and into your fingers, okay? So I did the math right here. We have 8 techniques, so 60 minutes divided by 8 techniques, that is 7.5, or give or take 7 minutes and 30 seconds of allotted time per technique. Now, you don't have to literally spend exactly 7 minutes and 30 seconds. In my opinion, you should always do a little bit more. So this practice routine should probably go above an hour, but at the bare minimum, do at least 7 minutes, give or take, per exercise, per technique, all right? So the first one we're gonna be talking about is the palm mute, the chugging, if you will. You know, the chug, in case you're unfamiliar with what a chug is, it's this noise right here. It's like the bread and butter. It is the whole crux of hard rock and metal music. The chug, that's the heavy. That's where you want to be, okay? So how you do it is you take your pick and you're going to anchor the fleshy part of your palm on the strings right by what's called the bridge. This piece of equipment right here, this part of the guitar is called the bridge. So you just want to anchor your chubby kind of, you know, flubby, fat part of your hand right on the bridge and touching the strings ever so slightly. Now, you don't want to put your palm too much on the strings, because what happens is, let me get some volume. What happens is, sounds like a duck all of a sudden. And that's not good chugging. We want, you know, some of this. That's where you want the sound. So I'll chug and listen to how the sound changes when I put my palm on different spots on the string. So what I do is I put my hand right here, right on the low E string, or in this instance, C string saddle right here. And that is like my anchor point. And honestly, what I started to realize in time is subconsciously my hand's always just chilling here. Whenever I have an electric guitar in my hand, and a lot of people do this as well, you're always kind of subconsciously keeping your hands on the strings to prevent residual noise. So the reason being is because if you take your hands off, you just get residual noise from the guitar being literally electric, and the vibrations will cause the strings to vibrate, and then you'll get unwanted noise. So I always have my hands on the strings at all times. So if I were to do this, but I have this here, right here, the strings aren't vibrating. As soon as I take my hand off, all of a sudden, you know, as soon as I take my hand off the strings, all of a sudden it makes noise. So the palm muting technique, the chugging technique, is not only great because it creates a cool sound, but it also keeps your guitar from making unwanted noise. So what you'll notice in time as you're playing, this hand always kind of just lives here, because as soon as you take your hand off, like I said, we get unwanted noise. So your first exercise is, for give or take 7 minutes, like I said, you know, 7 to 10 minutes, I want you to just find the sweet spot, and I want you to just start just doing palm mutes and just start chugging. I personally, over time, kind of make a fist with my hands, and I kind of curl my other fingers up like this. But you can do it however is comfortable to you. You can have your hands kind of out like this. Whatever works for you, but I always just kind of do this. So for give or take 7 minutes, I want you to start to just find your sweet spot, and then I want you to kind of practice in rhythm and use what's called a metronome that keeps time for you. All right, so it's just kind of just chugging along to the beat. And again, find that sweet spot. So I'll put up an example. Here's camera 2 showing you guys the technique up close. Okay, the next technique is what's called a power chord. This chord is the whole like makeup of hard rock and metal music. So in a drop tuning, it's different than a standard tuning. So I'll show you guys in a drop tuning, and then I'll use some of the other strings to show you how to make a power chord. So let's go just plain old 5/7 here on the A and D string, aka the G and the C string, and drop C. That's a power chord. You hear all kinds of rock music and metal music using power chords. You can take that shape. In this instance, it's a whole step away, 2 frets away, 5/7, and then you can move it anywhere on the fretboard, and that in turn will create a power chord. No matter where you take that spacing and that finger pattern technique, this shape right here, wherever you move it, it creates a power chord. You can also do 5/7/7, and that's still a power chord as well, and you can get what's called the octave in there, and you kind of put the other string in there as like a little sandwich. So you have root, perfect fifth, and octave. And that's some theory that we're not going to go into today, but trust me, whether you go 5/7/7, for example, or just 5/7, it's a power chord. Now with the drop tuning, what's cool and what I love about drop tunings is you can just use one finger to create a power chord. So if I just went 5/5 on the low strings here, that's a power chord. And if I did 5/5/5 all the way down, Those are all power chords. And why I love drop tuning is because the guitar is tuned to a power chord. So that's why a lot of times in this genre, you'll see a lot of opens, meaning zeros, on the fretboard. Because the guitar is tuned to a power chord. So you always have a usable chord in your back pocket that is the open string. So for about 7 minutes here, I want you to just get used to that shape and move it all over the fretboard. And I want you to, again, take the concept of like, when you have a power chord, as long as you keep that shape right here and move it anywhere on the fretboard, it creates a power chord, all right? So I want you to just get that muscle memory down, and I want you to just start just trying to make some simple riffs, some simple... And I necessarily don't care what you play, but I want you to get the muscle memory down. That's what I care about. So I want you to, for like 7 minutes, just try using those two shapes, either on the low strings like this, or on the other strings, for example, the 5th and the 4th and the 3rd string, shapes like that, okay? Next up, we're going to be talking about downpicking. So downpicking is a technique that was one of my weaker points growing up. And I kind of grew up on rock and roll like Zeppelin and Van Halen, and palm muting wasn't really that paramount in that genre compared to, say, you know, Metallica, Slipknot, you know, any sort of heavier style of music. So the downpicking technique is very paramount in this genre. So what I want you guys to do is take your palm mute, and I want you to palm mute in a rhythmic fashion to a metronome. And I want you guys to pick a tempo that is challenging, but that you can do cleanly, meaning you're not struggling, you're not straining. So you want it to be challenging, you want to push yourself, but you don't want it to be so slow that you're going. If that's your speed, totally fine. But if you find yourself kind of bored and you're not really using your muscles, it doesn't feel like an actual workout, like a literal muscle workout, you need to crank up the BPM, the beats per minute on your metronome. So what I would recommend is I would do 3 or 4 sets of 1 minute with a little bit of rest in between. And then for your final set, I want you to do 3 minutes, okay? So if you do 3 sets of 1 minute, right? That's 3 minutes. And then another set, your final set, do 1 set of 3 minutes straight. So the goal with the 1 minute set is to pick a tempo that by the end of the minute, you're struggling, you're straining. You can do it, but you're gassed. You're feeling it. You're feeling the burning in your muscles and your forearms, right? And then I want you to take a little bit of a break, and then I want you to do another set of 3 minutes. And again, 3 minutes of just down picking, to where after 3 minutes, you're on fire, but you're not losing the BPM. You're not sloppy, right? And the goal with that is if you can down pick for 3 minutes, that's give or take an entire duration of a song, right? Most songs are give or take 3 to 4 minutes, generally speaking. So if you can down pick for 3 minutes straight, that's going to build up your endurance for playing a song that is heavily using the down picking technique. You have the stamina built up to where you can down pick for the duration of a song, aka give or take 3 minutes. Okay, the next exercise and the next technique I want you guys to work on is a technique called Hammer-ons. Now, Hammer-ons are this. If I go 5-7 on the 5th string, that's what's called a hammer-on. What you're doing there is you're literally hammering your other finger onto the string, and you're creating another note by hammering on, pressing down onto the other string. So you pick one note here, 5th fret of the what's called the A string, pick it, and then take your ring finger in this instance and hammer on to the 7th fret, and it creates 2 notes. So you're getting 2 notes with 1 stroke of the pick. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to take all your fingers and I want you to practice hammer-ons with all of them. So in this instance, in this exercise, I want you to go 5-6, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8, 5-7, 5-6, and back to start. Etc. That's going to get your dexterity built up, and it's going to get your muscle memory built up as well. And your fingers will feel really awkward at first, but you need to be able to hammer on with all of your fingers. The next exercise and the next technique is the complete opposite of hammer-ons, and that's pull-offs. It's the same concept, but you're flipping the technique. You're going backwards. So in this instance, if I go 7-5, that's a pull-off. And the name is in what you're doing. You're taking the 7th fret here, and then you're pulling the string and pulling it off, and that'll create another note. So same thing. And what you're doing with a pull-off is you're kind of building tension. You're pulling the string ever so slightly, and then that's creating a lot of tension to where when your finger slips off the string, so to speak, it gives it more energy and more gas. It's not a, like, you hit it and then just let your finger go. You don't just take it off. Because if I did that, it works, but there's not as much emphasis. There's not as much energy. There's not as much juice in that motion there. You want to kind of pull down, pull off ever so slightly to where when you let go of the string, it creates a little bit more of energy there. So again, I want you to practice that for give or take 8 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. The next technique is what's called vibrato, the bends, if you will. If you watch somebody like Zakk Wylde, he's an amazing vibrato player. Vibrato is this technique. It's bending the string to where you're making your guitar sing a little bit. It's kind of like, ah. Forgive me with my voice and my example there. But that's what a vibrato is. And what I like to do with vibratos is I like to use as many fingers as possible on one string. My ring finger is my favorite string to vibrato with, but I'm using the other two, the middle and the pointer, as backup guys. They're getting in the fight as well, so to speak. So if I was to just use my pointer finger on, let's just go 7th fret G string. If I just did this, thumb and pointer, I can do that. But it's hard for my fingers. I mean, if you just look at this, I'm just doing this. Not a very strong foundation for my hand. What you can do is in this instance, you can put your pointer and middle on the string as well, and then use your ring finger as your final finger here, and you can use all 3 fingers to wiggle the string. And I can do that a lot longer and a lot stronger with more control compared to just using one finger. So it doesn't really matter where your other 2 fingers go, but naturally, I guess, my fingers go 5 and 6 and then 7 on the ring finger, or with the ring finger. But like if you needed to put multiple fingers anywhere on the string, it doesn't really matter because the last note in the shoot, the last note in the succession of fingers, that's the note that's going to get, heard, and that's the one that's going to ring out. So I typically, just go like 5 and 6 with my pointer, and then my ring finger is the final one, and that's the actual note that I want to vibrato. And then your last 2 techniques here, I'm going to give you guys some actual music theory and some usable scales here. Now, I've done this in several videos on my channel, but I'll just give it to you guys right here. I'm going to give you guys the major scale and the minor scale. Now, if you're brand new to guitar, there's 2 types of keys in music, just whether it's guitar or not. They're major keys and minor keys. A nice rule of thumb is major keys are happy, like happy songs. minor is a little bit sour, a little bit sadder, a little bit moodier, right? So there's a series of whole steps and half steps. So a whole step is 2 frets on the fretboard, and a half step is 1 fret on the fretboard. So if you just play this scale right here, I'll put it on the screen, 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, starting with your open low string, play whole steps and half steps, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. It creates what's called a major scale. The reason why I'm telling you that is because if you guys want to start to create your own riffs, your own music, you can use these frets as a guideline. If you play those frets and follow that pattern, it will organically and magically make a major scale riff and a major scale song, a song with the major key in mind. So you always start with the open string, generally speaking, and no matter where else you play on the frets, as long as you play any of those frets, it's going to be a major scale. So I highly recommend you guys practice doing this, just up and down linearly. That's major. And then minor is 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. Whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. And what's cool about drop tune guitars specifically, and only to drop tune guitars, you can then use the power chord technique with just 1 finger. So I give you guys those as your final technique and your final exercises. I want you guys to run those scales, and I want you to memorize them. Anybody and everybody I teach privately, that's literally the first thing I teach, those 2 scales. Because when it's time for you guys to get down the road in terms of your musical career, or whatever you guys want to call this, your hobby, your passion, your career, when you're starting to want to create riffs and write, those are some of the most important pieces of information for me, and I use those scales all the time when creating my own riffs. So I'm going to put myself on the spot. I love doing this on my channel just to show you guys I practice what I preach. I'm going to play a major scale riff using 0 as my starting point, as my key, as my focal point, and then I'm just going to make any sort of riff that comes to mind, and I'm just going to land on those frets, 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. I have no idea what I'm going to play. Really have no clue right now. Putting myself on the spot. This is a major scale song and a major scale riff with this low C as my root note. So here we go. Etc. It's not setting the world on fire. It's not the most exciting thing, but it is correct and it is in key. So I highly recommend you guys, for your practicing, run the scales linearly, and then for bonus points, try to see if you can just come up with some sort of rhythmic riff and just land on those frets. For major, 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Minor, 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. And that should get you guys to about an hour. And now for extra credit, you can do this again. You can do these techniques longer. But also too, don't forget that this is fun. This is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. So like your reward, if you get through an hour of this and you want to continue to play, your reward is, I highly recommend you guys either try to learn one of your favorite bands, riffs or songs, try to come up with something on your own, or just noodle around for fun. Because you've already done the hour. You've put the time in. Now you have free reign to do whatever you want. Like I said, a little reward, right? You put in the work. Now do whatever you want. You can literally just sit here after an hour and just do something like this. Guilty as charged. I did this when I was learning. I'm just making kind of nonsense. I'm just making gross, gnarly, heavy sounds because it's fun for me. And I've kind of come up with this phrase myself, and it is time on the fretboard is time on the fretboard. Meaning, if you're playing in any capacity, you're still going to get better. Now, I recommend you guys to be diligent with your practicing. But once you're done your practice routine, if you just want to just sit there and chug, it's beneficial because you're playing, you're learning, you're subconsciously figuring out little techniques along the way that you might not necessarily know that you're coming up with. But for example, over time, I learned that my playing has gotten cleaner by just playing. It wasn't as clean as it is now. It was pretty sloppy, a lot of residual noise, but I learned and watched myself transform over time that when I was playing, just through years and years of playing, my techniques and my playing and everything just got cleaner because I was subconsciously picking up techniques and I was teaching myself how to play better and just not make as many mistakes, not be as wild with my playing. Everything kind of cleaned up over time. So if you guys are just riffing around by yourself, you're going to get better at playing just by literally having your hands on the fretboard and trying to make noise out of it, okay? So everybody, that's my 1 hour practice routine for beginner guitar players. I hope you learned something. Again, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this video, why or why not. I love to hear from you guys, and I love you guys so much.